What a great start, hockey-wise, to 2025. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Spits and Suds post-game edition. I'm Gavin Spittle of 105.3 The Fan. The Dallas Stars, 7-0-1 in their last 8 games, winners of 6 in a row, points in 8 straight. It's their 4th straight road win. They take advantage of a Flyers team that is struggling. They dominated the game and take this by a score of 4-1. I'll tell you what, there's a chill in the air, icy. I wouldn't say the ponds would ice over because it's so temporary here in DFW, but are you with me? I mean, there is something special about watching hockey when it's like this cold out. Just gives you that natural hockey feeling. Now, the good thing about living in Dallas, Fort Worth is, I grew up a Massachusetts kid and we'd watch hockey and the fire would be going, but we'd have to deal with this for the next 4 months. The good thing about DFW is it's going to be 50 degrees this weekend and we'll be back to normal. But it is nice to get that temporary chill of hockey in the air. So welcome to this icy edition of Spits and Suds. You know what I love about tonight's game? Let's start with this. The offense was cooking. The Stars cycling in the offensive end was awesome, to the point that one Flyer shift hit the 4-minute mark, which is absolutely amazing. They were gassed out there, and the Stars had several high-scoring chances. But what I love is the hidden gems. Like when you watch highlights, for instance, you can go to NHL.com after every game, and they'll show highlights. And I will give the NHL this. They elongate the highlight to the point where you can see where it started. And I encourage you to go back to NHL.com and look at the goals, because some people clip the video and it shows the offensive highlights. But all 3 goals tonight, and I'm talking 3 goals. We also had the Miro Heiskanen empty netter, but all 3 main goals started in the defensive end. And your 2 best passers, Miro Heiskanen and Thomas Harley, weren't involved at all. So let's dive into all 3 and how this came about. Because as you know, and I say this over and over, I absolutely love looking at where the play began and explaining it to you, because a lot of times the people that start the play don't necessarily get the credit. It's the goal scorer, it's the primary assist. But just 1:45 into the game, Matt Dumba, who has been in and out of the lineup and did take 2 penalties tonight, but I do love his confidence, especially for a veteran that's been in and out of the lineup, healthy, scratched, trying to find his way after signing a free agency deal here in Dallas. But I love his confidence about getting the puck in the defensive zone, seeing the open ice in front of them, because a lot of players would stop still in their defensive end and they just want to get rid of the puck. He's done his job then, but Dumba saw an opportunity and he continued skating forward. Now the Flyers clog things up defensively once they get in the offensive zone, but the great thing is, because Dumba is continuing his forward momentum, he gains control of the puck. And I actually think on the play, he was sending it across the crease, and I think he saw Sam Steele, who was crashing the net on the far end. What he didn't see, or maybe he did see, and if he did, it was a terrific pass. It was a great play regardless by Matt Dumba. He sees Maverick Bourque with great speed coming through the middle, and he's the one that jams it in for the opening lead. And we've criticized Dumba, and I said he takes penalties, but I thought that was a really good play by the veteran D-man. Let's move to the second goal, because that was another good one. And that's a great example that we don't often see. And that's both the second and third goal. And it's a great asset. We see a lot of open ice passing, but we don't see a lot of passing that creates breakouts along the boards. And when you use the boards as a great asset to not only get it out of the zone, but the fact that you can create an offensive break and eliminate the clog in the middle by going to the side of the boards, it can be really effective. So Ilya Lyubushkin, who's back in the lineup tonight, does a great job. What he does is he gathers the puck behind DeSmith. And once again, and maybe this is because the Flyers didn't have the best forecheck and they weren't creating a lot of pressure, but he takes a couple of steps, gathers the puck, and continues to skate rather than once again looking for the up man to pass. And then he throws it off the boards to Jason Robertson with a real nice pass. Robertson's around center ice, and now we're three forwards moving along. Robertson with a great cross ice pass to Dadonov. And how many times, guys, can we mention on this podcast about how great Evgeny Dadonov has been? I mean, that contract at around 2.25 million, that is amazing value. And since he's been on that first line, we've seen a different Jason Robertson and Rope Hintz. So Dadonov threads that needle with a pass that just misses Rope Hintz. But because the pass was so close, it needed to be saved. And that rebound comes out because Rope Hintz continues to move forward rather than just being stagnant. He collects the rebound, puts it in, and it's 2-0. And I continue to say tonight the phrase moving forward because you felt all night it was the game plan. The Stars break out of their own zone. They easily got it out of their zone all night, and you just saw them continuing to come and come again and then make a change, and they're coming at the Flyers. I don't know if the Flyers knew what was hitting them tonight, and the Flyers aren't playing great hockey. They are not playing great hockey, and you could say the same thing about the New York Rangers. So I'm excited about what this team is doing. However, the start of this road trip, is against two of the easier teams in the East. Now, it does become difficult beginning on Saturday night when you play a streaking hot Montreal Canadiens Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. Maverick Bourque after the game that says he says that's all he's been thinking of all week. The Quebec native playing in Montreal for the first time. So that's going to be really exciting for him. I'm sure he's going to have the jitters. I love seeing that with young players. So on center stage in Canada against a very hot Habitants team. So that's going to be a good test for the Stars. And then right up the road, Ottawa on Sunday afternoon. So a very, very tough back-to-back. And then they have Toronto later on in the following week in Toronto. And we saw what Toronto did to the Stars just recently. So the next three are not going to be easy for Dallas. Okay, so in the second period, it was all Dallas Stars. They had so much open ice to work with. Their cycling was the best I've seen this season. I'm telling you guys, it was amazing. And the Stars aren't known necessarily for their cycling team. Like I said, they're move forward, keep going, and then get out of the zone so they can play defense. But they really wore out Philly to the point where any breakouts from the Flyers in that second period were just to dump it in and get a necessary change because they were so gassed. So on one of the Flyers' rare second period rushes, Nils Lundqvist, with terrific anticipation, breaks up a cross ice pass, and he gathers the puck, and then he sends an absolute gem of a diagonal pass off the boards to Jamie Benn. So I would encourage you, go back to NHL.com, and you can see it from the opposition goalie's end as far as Lundqvist intercepting and then sending it up ice and doing it immediately. And it was just a real thing of beauty. So now the Stars are on a 2-1 with 2-on-1 with Benn and Wyatt Johnston. So Benn feeds Wyatt Johnston and Johnston roofs it to make it 3-0 on a beautiful shot. Great job by Wyatt Johnston, because if you look at the replay, he maintained control of a puck that was on its end when he shot it. Kind of bounced at the last minute, and actually that was probably why he roofed it so hard, because it already had that lift. The Flyers do make it 3-1, but they can't get another one past Casey DeSmith. Hey, let's give credit to Casey DeSmith. He's played really well on the road. And overall this season, terrific signing by Jim Nill. The fact that we have a solid backup goaltender that can give Jake Ottinger the rest he needs and come in and get some wins, I mean, at a $1 million salary cap hit, that's a terrific signing. And Casey DeSmith has been all you want and more. And once again, I also like the confidence of a Casey DeSmith in case an Ottinger gets injured. Casey DeSmith has a lot of experience as a starting goaltender as well. So Miro Heiskanen with the empty netter to give the Stars a 4-1 victory. So overall, just a really, really nice win. Now, like I said, you can say the Flyers are at the bottom of the East. You can say the Flyers are probably playing some of their worst hockey of the year. I get it. But you do have to beat who's in front of you. And the Stars could have easily played down to the competition. But right now, they're playing a high level of hockey. They're one of the best teams in the league right now. And that says a lot. When you know a team is down and you go out and dominate them from start to finish. I mean, this was a dominant performance tonight by Dallas. Let's get to some of your tweets because you guys are always so great after the game, throwing out opinions, throwing out just your questions. Colin Blanchard says 22, meaning Maverick Bourque is really starting to string together some good games. So glad to see him put it in the net tonight and hope it continues and Stankoven follows. Nils also had yet another solid game and really feeling silly for questioning both the organization and him for re-signing. I'll tell everyone this. Do not feel silly because we all questioned a couple of things. We all questioned the viability of Nils Lundkvist with this organization. We were shocked, many of us, when he re-signed. I give credit to Sean Shapiro. He thought it would happen, but it just didn't seem like it was a good fit for Nils and for the organization. But they did it. And you could clearly see in the preseason that Nils Lundkvist was one of the better defensemen that played regularly in the preseason. And he has shined ever since. Sure, he does make some mistakes, but tonight was a great example of the confidence growing of Nils Lundkvist. And I love the fact that when you want to get other defensemen like Brendan Smith or Matt Dumba in the lineup, that Nils Lundkvist stays on the ice. That is the biggest sign that Pete DeBoer and the coaching staff have a lot more confidence in Nils Lundkvist. So, yeah, Colin, you're absolutely right. Maverick Bourque's really starting to string together some good games. It's great to see because the question was, should he be sent down to Texas in the AHL to get his confidence back? Williams says, I'm glad to see minutes for the defense where most is more spread out. Yeah, and that's going to happen with dominant wins like that. What do you think about the stars of the game? I feel like we have not had our normal wait for the second period to start in a while. I don't know what you mean by that, William. What do you think about the starts of the game? Oh, okay. No, I get it. Absolutely. Yeah. Starts seem to be more on time, and that's because the Stars have not been on national TV in a while. And that first national TV game, that's the key. So if you're on your own, if you're local, like at Victory Plus here in Dallas, Fort Worth, and that Victory Plus feed is on ESPN Plus. So if you're out of town, you see the ESPN Plus feed. There is no restriction as far as you can't start the game until the first game ends. But if you're on the ESPN like national channel, or if you're on TNT or ABC and you are playing the late game, you cannot start unless that game goes really, really long. So that's where we see the 20 to 30 minute delays. And my solution to that is I don't think anyone would mind on the East Coast if you started 10, 15 minutes earlier. I mean, just do that. Christopher Hardy says, make that 6-1 Colorado over Minnesota. Yeah, I was going to point that out. Their sixth goal happened 30 seconds after hitting send on that tweet. Let's look at the standings. Great leading, Christopher. That is a good job by you as the co-host of this program. So Dallas Stars remain in third, but look at them catching up. Now just 3 points behind second place Minnesota and 5 points against first place Winnipeg. Winnipeg hosts a very good LA Kings team tomorrow night in Winnipeg, and the LA Kings have 51 points, a plus 22 scoring differential. By the way, speaking of goal differential, the Stars are up to a plus 32 right now. So that's impressive. The other thing, after racking up some wins and 4 straight on the road, now 10-8 on the road. Didn't look good early, but this team is playing great hockey. So thank you so much for leading me into that Minnesota loss tonight. Anytime Minnesota plays Colorado, or Colorado plays Winnipeg, or Minnesota plays Winnipeg, that's a plus for the Stars, especially if they're winning, because we'll take 2 points out of any of those 3 teams to catch up. Michael Moore says, great stretch of games by the Stars with the lines seeming to gel. Do you feel like we need a forward? So I do subscribe to the theory that the Four Nations tournament is about a month away, and I think the Stars are going to be hesitant to pull the trigger until that happens. So, because another example, let's say Jim Nill wants to go out and get Brock Nelson from the Islanders, and Brock Nelson is playing for Team USA in the Four Nations face-off. What happens if Brock Nelson has an injury? You basically threw some assets to the Islanders for nothing because he's a free agent at the end of the year. So I hope that makes sense. And you also have Miro Heiskanen, Esa Lindell, Rope Hintz, and Jake Ottinger playing in the Four Nations. So what if one of them has an injury? So you just want to proceed with caution. And there is a few weeks in between the Four Nations tournament and also the Four Nations tournament and the trade deadline. So it'll be interesting. But it's a good opportunity for Stars fans to see the Minnesota native, Brock Nelson, 33 years old, having a good year for the Islanders. Islanders having not a good year. He's a big guy, not necessarily the most physical, but a very, very smart player. Love how the game finds him as far as the puck finds him. He knows where to be. He's a good passer. I love his quick shot. 21 points in 40 games, 10 goals, 11 assists. But if you look at his career stats, Brock Nelson, as far as points, he has 21 points. But look at the last 3 years, 59 points, 75 points, 69 points. So, you know, he racks up the points specifically when the team around him is playing well. Imagine what Brock Nelson could do on a team like this. But you will have Marchment coming back in about 2 to 3 weeks as well. So that certainly will help. So I think they should proceed with caution. But yeah, it never hurts to pick up another forward. All right. Let's see what else we have here. David Kokis loves Steele's game. His hustle at the end of the game shows his heart. Yeah, I absolutely agree. That showed a lot about Sam Steele. These players can be a difference maker in the playoffs. Question, it seems like the Stars play better in front of DeSmith than they with Ottinger. Perhaps I'm wrong. Curious about your take. You know, we talked about it with David Castillo today. That's a great point, David. It does seem as though the Stars play better in front of Casey DeSmith rather than Jake Ottinger, as far as, and maybe it's the teams that the Stars are playing, but the high quality chances certainly are more in abundance, let's say, when Jake Ottinger's in the net. As far as Sam Steele's concerned, I'd love to see Sam Steele return for another year. He has been absolutely terrific, and him and Dodonov can play on any line. And I love players that can really fill the void, because you need that, because forwards get injured, defensemen get injured. It's hockey. You need that depth. Rupert says, Gavin, when can we discuss a Sam Steele extension? Yeah, absolutely. I love what he brings to this team, hustle and tenacity every single night. Yeah, based on the last 2 years, if Sam Steele wants to be here, great. But Sam Steele might also get another offer. I don't know, because he doesn't necessarily rack up the points, if he'll get like a big offer. But I could see another team, because you're right. They love his hustle. They love his speed. They love his tenacity. And, you know, they love his versatility. Let's see. All right. Crow Wi-Fi, at a glance, that fourth line has had a lot of ice time this game. Yeah, I wish Blackwell had gotten that goal on that when the Stars were cycling and they forced the Flyers to be on a 4-minute shift. They were absolutely gassed, and that puck, Sam Steele was wide open on the far, and just sometimes the puck just jumps over your stick. I don't think there's anything that Blackwell could have done on that, or whatever line Steele and the kids are on, Crow Wi-Fi says. Wysa LaFrance says, from a purely defensive standpoint. So this goes back to Miro Heiskanen and talking about whether or not he's elite. And I think that's a different podcast in itself. And the problem is I've made it pretty clear that I don't think he is. I think he's a very good player, and I'm glad he's with this Dallas Stars organization. I'm glad they have him signed up for years to come. I love how he eats ice time. A very, very good defensive player, but I just look at other defensemen around the league, and I just don't put Miro in the elite category. That's just my opinion. I put him in the very, very good category. And I know the Norris could be deemed a publicity award, so to speak, or a offensive defenseman award, but are Stars fans saying that to basically cover for offensive deficiencies by number 4? I mean, do you really think he should be on the number 1 power play unit right now? I don't. And many of our experts that come on don't think so as well. So it's tough for me to talk about this at times because I come across as a potential hater, and that's not the case. And, I said it with David Castillo today, this year, and I'm just using this year, not because if it was his career, this isn't the case. But right now, I view him as the 5th best D-man in the Central Division. I really do. Now, Brock Faber got injured, so he's going to be down, and that's good for Stars fans, but he had a good year. Sergachev has been amazing for Utah. Cale Makar is always really, really good. So there's 3 players right there. So, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things that, I talk about, and I don't like talking about a lot because then it's all of a sudden, I'm hater man, and that's not the case. It's just people ask me my opinion and I give them the opinion. So great, awesome feedback. So we'll be back on maybe Saturday. We have a back-to-back, so sometimes we do Spits and Suds after the second game, so we have more to talk about. But this will be an exciting one. And it's awesome that it's going to be on Hockey Night in Canada. I'm absolutely jealous of those of you outside the DFW Metroplex area because you have the opportunity to take the Canadian feed of this game. In the DFW area, not that it's bad, but we're blacked out here, so we will have the Victory Plus feed. But I love when the Canadian announcers and the analysts talk about the Dallas Stars. So tough one on Saturday night, tough one on Sunday, but this team is playing great, off to a terrific start on this 5-game road trip. So thanks once again for listening and supporting Spits and Suds. We have some new podcasts out. RJ Choppy of the 105.3 The Fan Morning Show joined me for a funny story of how I was catfished. You don't know what catfish means. It just basically means that someone was playing a joke on you on a dating site, and where it turned into that they clearly knew a woman that I was talking to all of a sudden started talking hockey with me. And I'm not sure if it was a woman or not. I'm not sure if it was a hockey fan. I don't know. It was just confusing, but there were some good laughs in there, as well as today, David Castillo and I, David of D Magazine, we went over the entire roster. It is the midway point. So one of the things that we did was we gave letter grades to each player and why, as well as the coaches. So that's a pretty interesting program. And I would love for you to respond to me via Twitter as far as some of the agreements, some of the disagreements, and what letter grades that you would correct. We're all professors on this. Spits and Suds, we all do this together. So I'd love your feedback on that as well. So thank you so much for listening and supporting. Stars with a massive win tonight, and we'll talk to you soon. Hopefully you stay warm. Hopefully you stay dry. Have a great day, everyone.